Hey guys, it's Scott with Scotty B Cards. In this episode today, I have a special interview with Aaron Nowak from Slabstox. Aaron was one of the co-founders of Slabstox right when it came out, and Aaron and I will discuss the state of the hobby, the history of Slabstox, and also the direction that's going to be taking and how Slabstox had a big impact on the sports card community since its debut. So please like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow a ton and will help others see the videos as well. And other than that, enjoy the interview and have a great day. All right, Aaron, thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Scott. Really excited.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So I just want to kind of ask you a few questions about yourself and Slabstox and let some people get to know you a little bit better. The first thing is, I was wondering, how long have you been collecting for?
Absolutely. I started when I was probably around like 8 to 10 years old. I mean, I had some cards before that, but really in 2008, which is when I was around 10, I went to a store with my brother and we started buying 2008 Topps football cards from retail from Target. And bought the 2008 Topps football blasters with Brett Favre on the cover. We're huge Packers fans, so it was an instant like draw for me. Like, of course, I'm buying the box of Brett Favre on it. And each box came with one jersey card. And at the time when I'm 10, like jersey cards are literally like amazing. You know, like it's like my favorite thing. I was like, oh my gosh, these things are worth so much money. I remember pulling a Troy Polamalu like Pro Bowl jersey that I flipped on eBay really soon after that. So even when I was like 10 to 12 years old, I was on eBay buying and selling. Started really young. I mean, always kind of had that drive to work my way up in the market. It started when I was super young, and I'm not kidding. I mean, I go to shows and I'd be showing people on eBay how much stuff is selling for me. Like, I need this much in trades and stuff. And just kind of all went from there, starting when I was, like I said, 10 and into high school, buying and selling sports cards. Nate got involved with me, of course. Slabstox Nate came in with me, and he had a ton of baseball prospect knowledge, and I knew the cards very well. I started in football, really, like I said, and I collected that for a long time. And then when Nate started to get involved with me, he was my neighbor since I grew up in Wisconsin, so we've known each other my entire life. He was kind of feeding me prospect information, and I was putting that to work in the Bowman Chrome marketplace, which is kind of crazy. That's where I spent so much time when I was in high school and college. I was in that space, and we really kind of were a really great team. I mean, he had all the prospect knowledge, I had all the card knowledge, and I'd apply it. And at first, he wasn't putting up any money for it. So really, I mean, he was just feeding me free info at that point. And he's like, well, I'm not going to do anything with it, so I might as well tell you, what you can do with it. So I bought, probably $2,000 worth of Forrest Whitley cards. I turned into probably like $5,000-$6,000 pretty soon after that. I was buying Bowman Chrome base autos for like $10, and Nate was like, "Hey, you should buy Ronald Acuna and Forrest Whitley." And of course, I didn't buy Ronald Acuna because I just like was really starting to get into cards with like bigger dollar amounts. I'm like, I don't really know if I want to spend like $150 a base auto at the time, which obviously anyone would spend $150 on a Bowman Chrome Acuna auto now. But that was pretty crazy. And from there, I just started collecting anything that it meant something to me. If it was Packers cards of Aaron Rodgers that I'd watched with my dad, like those meant something to me. Or I went to a show and I buy cards at a show, like those physical memories mean something to me, regardless of if it's a player that I would keep if I were to buy on eBay right now. Like I've got some cards from shows like Orlando Arcia. He was a Brewers prospect. I mean, still plays from shortstop. But I bought those at the 2017 National. That was the most expensive card I ever bought at the time. Was his gold refractor auto 9.5 when he was like the number 6 overall prospect. I bought it for $350. Think about how much a number 6 overall prospect's gold refractor auto 9.5 sells for now.
Seriously.
So I bought that for $350, and I've kept it ever since. And then I bought Carl Towns Revolution auto, and that meant a lot to me because he's my favorite player when he played on. Well, he still plays on the Timberwolves. I keep saying when he did, but when I lived in Minnesota, so I was a huge Cat fan. I bought that card. I haven't sold it since. I collect Jonathan Taylor cards now. I just collect I have a ton of Brewers cards from 2018 when we made the crazy run to almost the World Series. I mean, that's really big time for a Brewers fan. So I collected a ton of Brewers cards then, like super fractors of Yelich. I think I have 3 super fractors from that year. One's an auto, super fractor auto from Topps Finest. So kind of anything that really just like gets my attention. I built a really great collection of some basketball cards, some of which I sold to do some pretty big life moves. But I mean, I still have like 2008 Topps Chrome Kobe refractor PSA 10, 1985 Nike Jordan PSA 9 rookie. I bought just kind of like cards that would mean something to me. As a huge Kobe fan when I was growing up in middle school and high school. Really try to not model how I did things off of Kobe. how he went about, working hard, going through life. And I try to do the same. And same with Jordan, because Kobe got so much from Jordan. So I was a huge Jordan and Kobe fan, much more than LeBron, everyone growing up. I was really never that big of a LeBron fan. That's why I was Jordan and Kobe. But I just kind of build around what I love and collect stuff that means something to me. Jonathan Taylor, I watched him for years at Wisconsin, playing running back, leading us to top 10 finishes. So I have a ton of Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin, 1-of-1s now and out of 5s and mosaic golds and stuff. But
that's
just,
awesome.
I mean, I really am a collector is what I kind of want to say. I mean, listening to all that, like, I got all my start because of collecting. It's just I knew how to build a business around the investing and collecting side of it.
I would say that a majority of people, like the traditional collectors, always bash investors, but I think we're all kind of investors. We want our cards to appreciate, whether that's just to have our cards be worth more or to buy other big PC pieces. So I think that's something that people miss a lot of the times. And I know.
Yeah, and I think that as well. And I heard, I think his name's Northwood Sports Card Collector or something on Instagram. He's from the Green Bay area, I want to say. He was saying, invest in your PC. He's a huge Peyton Manning collector and now investor because of that. Like, I bought a ton of really awesome Kobe cards I liked in Jordan cards just because I love the guys, but I knew that I was buying them because they become more valuable in the future too, and I love having them, and now they're worth a lot more money, which is awesome too.
Totally. And that's kind of like me with Mookie Betts. When Mookie Betts won MVP in 2018, his prices were still cheap. And honestly, they still are cheap right now, but it was easy to get into him because he's one of those like really low floors, really high ceiling players. And a lot of people are missing out on those. So even in the sports card market, with how many people are in the market investing and buying, I think there's tons of opportunities left.
Absolutely. I mean, I must say, like, the further I've went along Slabstox, the further I've lost like super specific niches, I'd say. Like, we really started in Bowman Chrome. I mean, that's how we started. That's what Nate and I were doing together. And we started producing information on that. Then we expand into basketball. Then we expand into literally every single card market that there is. So now, my entire job is running Slabstox. So I can't even follow baseball prospects anymore. I can't even follow baseball MLB anymore. It's really hard for me to keep up with the NBA even. It's just gotten kind of crazy how busy everything is, trying to further the brand, further the business, make new partnerships. A lot of the way I look at things now is that I'm an expert in nothing. I'm not an expert in anything specifically other than working hard. And I know how to make connections, and I know how to further the space, get people involved, get people talking about the space. And that's really what I'm an expert in. I will never sit here and say I'm a card expert, especially with as many people are now in the industry. I mean, I don't want to be one of those guys that are sitting up there claiming that I'm an expert and you got to do this, you got to do that. No, I just love cards and I love to get other people involved, and I'll work hard to do it too. So that's really what I love doing.
That's awesome. So how did your idea of Slabstox really take off? When you started Slabstox, it was what, 2017 or 2018?
Yeah, I think I came up with the idea. I think it was 2018, spring of 2018. I was sophomore in college. I remember sitting in my room and I kind of started it then.
So when it took off, there wasn't really investment pages or channels or anything like Slabstox that existed. What made you want to do it, and how did you do it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, other than myself knowing cards really well, and a lot of other people knew cards really well at the time too, so I'm not going to obviously sit here and say I knew more than others. It's just I knew how to put a voice to it, which others weren't doing. There was no one out there producing any type of information other than like your standard, like, new release coming out.
Yeah.
Here's the checklist. How much are the boxes worth? Like, nothing in terms of like, hey, these are the guys that are really trending hard right now because of this, because of that. And I kind of saw it as an opportunity because I was buying and selling sneakers for like a semester in college, and I learned about StockX from doing that. And I'm like, hey, that's a pretty good business model. Like, I could probably do it with cards if I put in the time, and obviously a lot of time. It's been thousands and thousands of hours for me over the past 2 years, but I thought I had an opportunity to do something similar for cards and to try to make a stock market for sports cards. And I had no money. I was a sophomore in college. There's no funding. I had no employees to help other than Nate on and off to start. And I said, hey, I got to do something. So let me start up an Instagram page and just start talking about values and what it would look like if I actually had an application, if I actually had a website, if I actually had data. I just hand jam data for years now. And I actually still am to this day because of how long our website's taking to come out. But the point is that I saw an opportunity to do something no one else was. And I knew that it was going to progress I never foresaw what would happen today with the demand. I'm not going to say I sat there and said, holy cow, sports cards are going to become the biggest thing in the collectible space ever. I just knew with this current demand in the space that there was a lack of information sharing, and I wanted to take advantage of that. So I did. I started posting like once a day, and to start, no one really cared at all. Like, especially the first time I ever put something up on Instagram, no one gave a crap. And I got pretty discouraged pretty fast, and I actually deleted my first post I ever made on Instagram about a chart. Is a Alex Kirilloff 2016 Bowman Chrome autograph. I charted his sales from like the previous week when he got put on like the Baseball America hot sheet, and no one cared. And then my brother was like, dude, you can't just like quit that easily. Like, put that thing back up. So I put it back up. Next thing you know, like a day later, there's like 3 comments saying like, hey, this is cool. I've never seen this done before. Like, keep it up. So literally just kept working, kept building. And then next thing you know, in April of 2019, Gary Vee enters this space like hard. Like, obviously he's known about cards. He's been buying cards, but he enters the vocal space of cards. And that's really kind of like when it all started, is when Gary Vee came in, started talking about it. I dropped a comment on one of his posts, and he called me within 2 weeks. He called me on the phone and flew me out to New York to talk about Slabstox and what we're doing. And it's kind of funny, the meeting, like I think I shared this on one other podcast, but I haven't really shared it many places, is that he tried to hire Nate and I to produce content in his company 137. And at the time they just weren't ready. I was trying to go back to school, and I had to know what was I doing going back to school or working, and it just didn't happen quick enough. And then it just never came together. So not to say that I'm really glad that didn't come together, because I wouldn't be sitting here today. I wouldn't be doing Slabstox. I wouldn't be in the position we are right now, which is super blessed and thankful for everything we've been able to achieve and what we're doing in the future. But it's just kind of crazy because we were one of the first to it, which really, really helped. But being, I want to say, what's the word I'm looking? Relatable. Being relatable to the audience is what's gotten us this far, because you'll never find us putting up a video of, hey, this is how much money we're spending on cards. Hey, this is how much money we've made off of cards. Because, we want to be as relatable to the newcomers, as relatable to the people that are in the industry as possible. And that's not going to happen through, possibilities of flexing investments, possibilities of, bragging about certain things. And we just want to be there for the everyday collector and try to expand the space and make sports cards accessible to everyone. And that's the mindset I've had doing every single thing for the last 2 years now. And it's what's going to keep us going forward. From that Gary Vee meeting, we flew back home, and we knew that if it came together, it'd be great. If it didn't, we'd still do what we were trying to do. And that is still to this day, when I started the Slabstox, I wanted to start the stock market for sports cards. I'm still doing that now. We got super delayed on our website. Of course, everyone knows we're trying to come out with Slabstox Pro, a data platform for sports cards, powered by eBay. Well, we kind of hit some road bumps, and our external data feeds basically shut the plug, or pulled the plug on us. So we're kind of left with half a platform that works if there were data, but there was no data. So how can we release a platform with no data? So now we basically work backwards to work forwards. And now I'd say, our really big goal is, I'd say by end of quarter 1, 2021, to have that website up and running. Now it's going to be really small steps, at least for now. Like I'm saying, to this day, I've had no funding. I've done this entire thing. You see places out there getting tons of funding left and right. I've done this entire thing with no funding. And that's not to say people haven't reached out. That's just to say that we want to build it right and how we want to. We'll see. Maybe that changes in the future. But as of right now, that's our plan, to roll this on phases and really make that dream come true for myself, because that's why I started this. We've taken different turns along the way. Could never imagine, all the different things that we got into, that we were doing with YouTube shows and soccer cards and literally anything you can name it. I was never, 1 to 10. That was never on the step list to get to the website, but it happens. And that's kind of, life is really unpredictable.
I'm really excited for your guys' website, because obviously we have Sports Card Investor Guys, his program, but it costs like $600 a year. It'll be nice to have a program that'll be either, I think it was free at one point. It might be a little bit now, but it'll be nice to have that platform so we can actually access it better than just 130point.com or a bunch of other random.
Yeah. So our plan is to keep it absolutely free.
Awesome.
We don't plan on charging for a single segment of the website at all. And all the data should be free to access. Tracking your portfolio should be free to access. All that stuff free. The baby steps along the way are going to be the features other than getting your hands on, the decent amount of data that we're collecting to start, and then tracking our portfolio. But there's a lot more features that we need to get involved. We need to add those buying and selling functions. We need to add a lot of stuff along the way, which, like I'm saying, if we can find a way to expedite that and speed up that process, we will. If it's just going to take a bit to build, it's still going to be free to start, and we're just going to build a little bit slower. The plan is always to keep collectors' mindsets first, investors' mindsets first, make sure that people are keeping money in their pockets. There's no reason why people should be paying for information that you can go and get, readily available in a multitude of different ways, but just combined into one way that's easy to view. That's our entire plan. Our entire plan is not to be the most powerful data tool out there. It'd be great to, but a lot of that comes with a lot of money and a lot of different capabilities that at the moment we just can't do. But our plan is to be the most accessible, the easiest to use, and the freest platform that you can find. And that's what our goal is. That's where our mind says. And we always want to make sure that's first in our head going forward.
That's fantastic. So when Slabstox started, it didn't start without any growing pains. And the growing pains, I think, were just some negativity of certain individuals or a couple people. How did you deal with that negativity and kind of overcome it? Because there was quite a bit for a couple months there. And you guys did a good job of getting back to where you wanted to be.
I will say it was probably one of the toughest things I've ever had to deal with in like the terms of like work. Like, this has pretty much been my life for the past 2 years, and to see that kind of getting attacked so hard for a bit was tough. And, we made some mistakes along the line. We were super early to what we were doing, and the rules were not written in the slightest then. There was nothing out there that was really going on where people were sharing information, but also trying to collect at the same time. And it was a difficult situation to work with. But I will always say this, I will never wish that anything went any differently, because I learned, a heck of a lot from everything that we've went through, and some adversity we faced, people trying to put us down, people trying to stop us from our goal, all that stuff. I learned a ton from it, really got us on a focused mindset at the time. Because like I said, we had no funding. I had no idea how we were going to get to our goal. I was just trying to do whatever I thought would capture eyeballs and would get people talking about sports cards. And soon after that, I found out that we can't go about it in certain ways, and I adjusted from there. I think every single person that has actually followed Slabstox from that point until now will have noticed what we're trying to do and the shift in how we produce content, how we produce information, and how we start discussions. I think anyone that thinks otherwise probably hasn't really paid attention much or listened to what we're saying much, or just have predispositions and just run with them. So, basically, I always knew what we could do. I always knew what our mission was, and I just made sure we stayed focused on that mission. Really try to get myself as far away as possible from, buying and selling things that I would even consider talking about. So that's why I started buying and selling soccer for, a year, because I knew nothing about it. There was no way I was going to be able to go on to our YouTube channel or our podcast and say, hey, I know this much about this. And I just knew nothing about it. So I jumped into that, and it worked out really, really well for myself, and very blessed that happened. And basically that's what the mindset's been since. I might collect cards, I might buy some cards here and there, but of what I have in my current possession, I don't have much. I've got Jonathan Taylor collection, I got Christian Yelich collection, I got a few Kobe and Jordans, and that's about it. So really just try to focus in on the brand, focus in on the audience, focus in on what was going to get us to our goal. And it was going to get us to our goal was not by buying and selling baseball cards, or basketball cards. That wasn't going to get us to the goal. It was going to be building a community and building an audience. So really anything that got in the way of that, I threw out the window. And basically, we sat down and said, hey, this is what we got to do to get there. And we got there. So I'm not saying that we're there yet. I'm just saying that we're on the right path to getting there. We're extremely blessed to have so many people supporting us. I mean, even our team alone, and then everyone else that's following and supporting it, it's just absolutely amazing to see. I mean, there's even still people out there that say that we buy followers. I've never spent a single dime on a follower in my life. The most I've spent on marketing is maybe like $100 for a Facebook ad to like get a post out there that people can see more. Like those people are all a joke. Like every single follower we have has come through organic shares, come through people sharing our content, have come through people, searching for sports cards, searching for Slabstox. It's been wild. I mean, some of our posts get over 1,000 shares per post, which is nuts. And that really speaks volume to how much people are trying to get the sports card information out there. Because whenever we have a big post like this past weekend with the Jordan sales, the PSA 10s that went for $740,000, there's 1,000 people that are sharing that with their friends. And most likely they're sharing with friends that don't even know anything about the space. That's most likely what it is, you know? So it's crazy.
That's awesome. So I guess what is your prediction for the sports card future for the next, let's say, 10 years? And what do you think is the biggest threat to the sports card hobby?
I think the biggest threat, I guess maybe I'll start with the prediction. I'll start with the positivity. So I think that the amount of big money that's coming into the space, and I lived through this stuff. I mean, a lot of people, I just want to express how fortunate I am to be in this position, to be able to see this stuff happen and play out. Like, I've seen all these companies and all these funds coming into the game with all these millions and billions of dollars, not lying here, looking to make plays in the marketplace before it actually happens. So I've seen that. And it really is telling for me, like, hey, this is really going to keep on blowing up and going big, because I know of all these places that are trying to buy stuff in the space. But I just foresee more of that. I mean, I foresee more people who have a ton of money, who want to get involved in something that's, I'd say, really cool, is unregulated, is completely, up to the consumer. And that's what sports cards is. And I see more athletes coming in. I see more funds coming in. I see more companies coming in. I mean, we're at the super early stages of companies coming into sports cards. I'm not even saying like current companies coming into sports cards, but even like companies getting started, companies getting $5 million in funding to build a business, to drive the industry further. I mean, every single new person that comes in that has a voice is just going to keep further into the future. And that's not to say that there's not going to be dips, and there's not going to be peaks, and there's not going to be lost money, and there's not going to be made money, like that's just going to be natural along the course. But if we're projecting out, 3, 5, 10 years, the space is going to be unbelievably large, which, with that being said, I think poses the biggest threat, which is regulation on whatever it might be in the hobby. I don't know what it is. I don't know what would happen. I don't know what would happen if the government came in and said, you have to do this, and this way, that way, with breaking, with investing, with any of that. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if it'll happen, but I'd say that's the biggest threat as it grows, is more people coming in and trying to tell you how you can do things. Because right now it is completely up to the consumer, which is why it's so beautiful. But I hope it stays that way, because it really is great. So we'll see. I mean, it's unpredictable, that aspect of it.
Totally. Right now, sports cards are at a space they've never been in, which is crazy. Even in the 90s, the boom there, we have probably almost as much, if not more, attention now. All the inability to get retail, all of that stuff is kind of getting more difficult. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few years. But I think a lot of these record-breaking sales are because of these startups who have these big portfolios and funds that they can put into their portfolio. So I don't think that's going to slow down anytime soon, those big sales.
No, it's absolutely not. The more that people see that money can be made in, or that, people are trading up from $10,000 Jordans to $100,000 Jordans, more people are going to get involved. And then it just goes, oh, you're trading up from $100,000 Jordan to $500,000 Jordan. Like, everything scales up. It just keeps scaling up. And that's what's happened for the last 2 years. And that's why when I hear people, this is just some random thing, when I hear people say like, oh, don't invest in nines. Investing in nines is like investing in a used car. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. A year ago, I bought a Jordan Nike PSA 9 rookie for $300. It's the auction sold last night for $9,500. Like, seriously, everything just scales up from what it is, and it's all proportionate. Sure, 10s are going to get the highest dollar, but you're not spending the highest dollar on a 9, so why not? And then make money on that, like, it's just makes no sense when people say stuff like that. I don't get it.
Totally. So last question before I let you go is Team Vegas Dave or Team Gary V in regards to the sports card future?
I think it's pretty obvious for myself. Team Gary V all the way. And I'm not going to sit, I know a lot of people dislike both guys for their own reasons. And yeah. I have no, dislike for Gary at all. I mean, no matter what happened with us getting flown out there, meeting with him, and some future opportunity we had with him, even if that fell apart, and it doesn't matter to me at all. I mean, Gary shared our content more times than I could ever ask for. And just being involved with them and the guys over at 1:37 p.m. and Card Talk Pod, which is really getting big now, just being involved in that circle is really, really huge. And it's made more connections with more people than I ever could think would happen. And I never got a single dime from Gary. I think people out there probably say I did, but haven't gotten a single dime from Gary ever. And just his willingness to help us, make connections with other people is really important. And him and his team are great. So I'm Team Gary V all the way. I mean, really enjoy Gary for who he is. You know, I operate differently than he does, obviously, when it comes to talking about cards, but that's okay because people don't have to operate any certain way. And he tells people how much he has of certain things. He's, will say what he likes. Vegas Dave, I don't even want to get into that because, there's nothing like taking your card and selling it for $4 million and then telling everyone that the space is crap after that. It's way too egotistical. It's not even worth my time, honestly.
I know we're probably doing a disservice to the hobby community by even talking about it, but I think you get a kick out of it. Well, anyways,
no,
for your time, dude. Anything you want to share about Slabstox before I let you go?
We just started up the breaking channel a month and a half ago. It's going pretty crazy. We're breaking 3-4 days a week. It's an absolute blast, just a further way for us to connect to cards in our community. So if you want to, just hop on YouTube Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll probably be live opening some product. And other than that, just make sure to follow us on Slabstox on Instagram. It's pretty much where you'll get the most information and learn the most about what we're doing. And as Slabstox Pro comes out, we'll definitely be sharing that process and what their journey is like and when you can get your hands in it. Because I'm really excited for it. We're not stopping in that journey to get there. It's been a long one, but nothing awesome comes in a day. So That's what I like to tell myself.
Well, great, man. Well, I appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to your new slabstox.com, all of that coming out, and it's going to be great. But thanks, Aaron, and have a great day, dude.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Scott.
See you later.